Hello, welcome to the latest episode of Data Unchained. I'm your host, Molly Presley. Before we jump into today's episode, let me talk a little bit about what Data Unchained is about. This podcast really focuses on how data has become increasingly decentralized, being generated from all different kinds of devices, processors, and wanting to be used in a lot of different ways with the advent of AI, cloud computing, data research that's being done on supercomputers. And so we really dig into both the challenges, the technologies, and the solutions around decentralized data. However, today's episode is a little bit different. Today's guest, we're taking an opportunity to delve deeply into the background of a technologist who's really been leading the journey of how compute and data really work, and highly patented. And today we're celebrating that she was recently nominated for a leadership award at the Future of Memory and Storage Conference in Santa Clara. So without further ado, let me introduce Rita Gupta. Rita is a fellow at AMD and will be joining us to talk about her career, both as a technologist and a woman in this space. So Rita, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Molly, for having me here. It's great to be on this podcast and great to be connected to your audience.
It's going to be a really interesting conversation about technology, but maybe before we do that, we can talk a little bit about, how did you get to this point in your career, in your life? Do you have other hobbies outside of technology that might be interesting to share?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me talk a bit about my background. I have recently completed 25 years into this career, and large part of this career has been into servers and server design. I have worked in India. I have worked in US, California. Now I'm local to Austin, Austin. And of course, AMD. We just talked about Data Unchained and how data is important to life, and AMD is at forefront of it. I mean, the top two supercomputers are AMD computers, right? So I'm privileged to work in a company which is making advances into this leading age of technology, impacting the future and also contributing to the society. On personal front, I did say I'm local to Austin. I have two daughters. And what I enjoy beyond work is reading. Yes, I mean, not reading papers, which are technical papers, but also the books, fiction, nonfiction, everything, and movies. Why not? And being in Austin, the good part is you can always look. There is more opportunity to be outdoors, except for the 100 days of 100 degree. There is a great opportunity to be outdoors, so enjoy doing that too.
I'm the committee leader for a group called the Women of the Future of Memory and Storage. And this year, Rita, you were selected for our leadership award, and that was really around two things. We want to highlight women in leadership for the impact they're making in technology, but also as mentors, as leaders in their companies, and you really fit the bill across all those different areas. So congratulations. And I mean, your contribution to this industry has been absolutely fantastic.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled with that nomination and that selection. I mean, we have had such an awesome honorees before me that it was great. It was humbling to actually my name being mentioned in the same lineup. It's great. It's awe-inspiring people ahead of me there. And I honestly and wholeheartedly thank the FMS committee for considering me for this award and appreciate the recognition.
It's well earned. And I don't know if you ever actually saw the nomination form, but it's always, I think, even more of an honor when your colleagues or maybe some of the people in your team who maybe have worked for you in the past nominate you and spend the time to put together not just the details of your achievements in your career, but how you've impacted their life, their careers, and your nomination form was very notable in that area. So it's really, I'm excited to delve a little bit more into kind of what's behind all that. So maybe we can get started with, you're a woman leader in tech. tell us about your experience. Has it been challenging? How did you get started? Maybe just walk us through a little bit of your career.
Right from engineering school, I have been used to being a minority in the class or otherwise, because back in the day, engineering schools didn't have, I mean, even today, that's true, not as many women in the or girls in the class. So when I got into workforce, I have been used to like 99% of the time be only female in the room, in any conversation, in any meeting. And yes, it is a bit unnerving to begin with, but then once you get used to it, you stop noticing it in a way. Then I also realized that when you're the only person or you're the only female in the room, that also makes you more noticeable, which makes it important that you speak intentionally, you speak with purpose, and also you're representing not just yourself, but people who might not be in the room. So I take point to that. And what is also important is while we are using it to, while we are not letting it deter ourselves, it is also important that we get that opportunity to others. But I have been very fortunate to be working in organizations and in teams where that was not the primary consideration. That is she a woman? Let's not. Does she need a separate consideration or anything like that? What one of my managers used to call it as that he's gender blind. So he wouldn't think about an opportunity, whether that is good for me or any other male colleague or otherwise, keeping that in consideration, the gender in consideration. So I have been using that. That has been the mindset overall, that it means that opportunity is there. I can use that opportunity. I can make that opportunity better by speaking up, better by presenting myself and being present in the room wholeheartedly and putting my best foot forward there. Over time, what I've noticed is it's not just in the organizations that I was there where the participation is limited from female. I have seen it across the companies. Now I have had opportunity to work in various standard committees. I have had opportunity to, my role is very external facing, which means that I talk to a lot of customers, a lot of different partners. And this is across the board. So that has made me more aware of the fact that we need to bring more women to the rooms. We need to bring more women to this, bring more exposure to them. And that's what has been shaping up my focus on making sure that I can do my part to pay it forward to the women in tech who are emerging, who are interested and willing to go to make that happen, be in those rooms and make contribution and impact.
I think it's interesting. I'm at a group meeting right now called the Trillion Parameter Consortium, and it's trying to figure out how we'll continue to, as an industry, kind of from a standards perspective, scale everything for this wave of AI that's coming. It's coming from a lot of supercomputing folks, and we're preparing for AI, and that conversation of talent, and that we need a larger skilled workforce in AI is really important. And I'd be interested if you have a thought on how do you encourage anyone, kids coming out of college, or women specifically, that, these are careers they should be pursuing, and they should have, kind of the courage, the focus in their learning to come and be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting part. We always talk about that, hey, we have to make women or girls more interested in these careers. And I think a large part of it comes from that, what are the role models that they look up to? We don't necessarily glamorize the engineering roles as much, but then we have Lisa Su, who's kind of the role model there. There's
sure.
aura around her. So those are definitely the role models that help the younger generation to look up to, that, hey, one day I can be somebody like her, or I can make contributions and impact like her. So those role models are definitely helpful. But beyond that, what we should definitely look at is I would treat it as more of a entry barrier, which is mental, that, hey, this looks like a male dominated field. Am I really fit for it? I think that is the barrier, that mental barrier, which may be preventing or rather kind of inhibiting some of the girls entering into these careers. we really need to go out. And I think some of the things we tend to do is, especially hiring interns, expose them to these opportunities that, hey, this is, yes, semiconductor industry largely looks like male dominated field, but it is not necessarily translating into that females cannot do good here. There are great technical female talents. There are conferences which are centered on women in semiconductor hardware and so on, where you can see this early career or students who are looking out, hey, is this a good career for me? And we have to educate them more, or rather advocate more about semiconductor industry or engineering in general is great field for women, because we as industry need that diversity of thought, the talent that you were just now talking about. There are differences of skills that each male, female, or in general diversity brings, and that is extremely important for us to have as an industry. So I think that encouragement starts early and it continues during their career, because it's not that you just get them in the industry and that's done. Our job is not done. We have to retain them there. And I think that's the piece that there are different parts of it that we need to do as industry, educating, engaging more with the colleges, with the schools to get that interest, show them the path, and then once they're in that path, retain them. I think those both things are very important, but that's absolutely a great point to bring the talent in.
Thinking back to when you were getting started, which skills helped you in your journey? And are there any other tips that you haven't already mentioned that you think would be helpful for women embarking on careers in tech right now?
One of the things that, if I look back at my career, I now realize it more, is I have been extremely curious and extremely wanting to do different things. I have changed my roles, and not necessarily companies, but roles, be it changing a domain or changing an aspect. I have done pre-silicon verification, design, logic design, post-silicon validation. I have done architecture, I have done system architecture, and doing that now. All these different changes, they were stemming from the curiosity is wide, and another factor was trying to get uncomfortable. So Lisa says it famously, that run towards hardest problem. The way I have always approached it is that if I start getting too comfortable in a role or in a job, then that is a time for me to expand it, change it, or look at it from a different angle. And how that has helped me is being through these different domains through my career. That makes me think about I think, better end-to-end architect, because I have this ability of zooming into an aspect, understanding to the deep level, at least ask the right questions, engage with the right people, and then also zoom out and be able to see a bigger picture, like how does these different pieces fit together? How are we enabling this solution for customer? What does customer really want? Asking the right questions to the customers as well in some cases. So being able to do that zoom in, zoom out, that's important, I think. And advice or tips I would say is that 2 or 3 parts. One is, don't try to be too comfortable. If you're not struggling occasionally, that means that you're not probably pushing the boundaries. I sometimes overdo it. Then I have to figure out, okay, no, this is too much.
You're too uncomfortable then.
Yes, but I think that's important. Staying, getting uncomfortable, getting that part of imposter syndrome. Both of them are important for career growth or your own personal growth. To me, another thing that women generally tend to do is, or tend to need, is a bit of a confidence boost. That, hey, you can do it. You got this. You have to keep reminding it to yourself. Yes, it is uncomfortable, but that's important. If you're doing same thing year over year, then you get too comfortable. That's not ideally leading you to a growth.
I know from getting to know you a bit that you're a deep technologist. Have you been in a lot of management and leadership positions throughout your career as well?
Actually, yes. As I said, I have done different roles, and part of those roles were actually going into the people management also and functional management also. So there was a time I was leading or managing a direct team of 20 people too, and functional team of much larger. Now, those experiences, they are, I think, very helpful in in career no matter what. Now I'm in a technical role. I don't have to have large team reporting to me. But when I'm doing work, it is not only my individual work. I'm always working with a very large team, very cross-functional team. So the skills that you gain through that experience of people management are very transferable, or they're very applicable to even for technical leadership, because ultimately what you need is influencing, and influencing people without authority is also important. So yes, I have done people management, and that has been helpful for me to kind of use the soft skills to in my technical domain as well.
Absolutely. I think that there's a saying that it's the responsibility without authority is sometimes even more difficult. Influencing teams that don't
It
directly
is.
report to you takes even sometimes more artful skills, right?
Absolutely, and that's I think for technical leadership, people tend to overlook the soft skills. It doesn't mean that you have to be only nice. You're doing the right thing. You're being intellectually honest, but at the same time, when you understand those soft skills, or when you understand those people skills or importance of it helps just you help the team help lead the team better. That's what I would say.
As you got started, or even throughout your career, have you been involved as a mentor or mentoring others?
Definitely. I mean, I owe a lot of what I am today to all my mentors and gurus. Right back in my college days, my first senior or professor who taught us microprocessor techniques, he's the one who got me really interested into microprocessor, where my career is today. And then over time, I have been very fortunate to have lovely mentors, very through my career. Currently, Mahesh, who's my manager and mentor, he's been my guiding light. And then I do have a lot of formal, informal mentors who I'm looking at for coaching on specific styles or specific aspects, either technical, non-technical. I do work like a sponge when I'm in a place where there are other senior technical leaders like Kevin Lee Pack or Robert. I would look at how they are presenting certain things, how are they approaching a problem, and learn through that. That's always that mentoring is always happening, and also peers. A lot of the peers who have been pushing me to do better version of myself. What I talked about, pushing the boundaries, a lot of it comes from the peers as well. That, hey, you can do this. That's all right, and. That also is about that. Those are the styles that I have unintentionally, but somewhat intentionally, also gotten into my own mentoring as well. When I'm mentoring others, I have a lot of mentees, even within organizations, sometimes across companies as well. People just reach out to, hey, this is a situation in my career. What do you think? And then I just help them think through. I'm not going to give them the solution because they are the best people to judge that. But just thinking through how to approach it, how are how are the different aspects that you would want to think about. So there's mentoring on the non-tech aspect of it, like career advice, and then there is of course technical mentees that are people who are in my domain looking to grow either in different areas or different opportunities. Work with them, get some hands-on projects, and see how they grow. It's absolutely rewarding to see somebody you're mentoring growing. It's like it's a plant, and then you help nurture it and it grows. That's absolutely a rewarding feeling.
It absolutely is. And I think you're, at least I would guess, somewhat fortunate that you get to work in Lisa Sue's company. She's certainly one of
Yes,
those leaders I
absolutely.
watch and enjoy seeing her impact. And, any chance she's speaking at an event I'm at, I always make sure I find a seat in the room. What is it like at AMD in her company? Does she have, formal mentor programs? Maybe tell us just a little bit of like, what does it look like on the inside?
Absolutely thrilled to say that. We do have formal mentoring program where people can sign up for getting mentor or being mentors as well. You can sign up for, hey, this is the area that we would like to, and it is taken very seriously. There are 2 or 3 aspects of it. One aspect is, hey, general mentoring, skill-based. There are also for the technical pipeline, especially in the principals and fellow pipeline, if there are up and coming engineers in that path, the managers nominate them into that pipeline. They find the right mentor to progress further. For women in AMD, there is a Advancing Women in Tech pipeline as well, where there are multiple events, special trainings as well to get the mentoring and coaching that would help them, the guidance that would help them to progress ahead. So mentoring wise, there are a lot of formal programs, but beyond that, just informally, the culture of the company is so collaborative and helpful to learn. There is never an information hoarding. If you want to learn about an aspect or learn about a technology which may not be something you're directly working on, but something that you think is important for you long term, you can absolutely go and reach out to a person, get that information, get the feedback from them. So the culture itself is very much nurturing to the collaboration, to learning, and of course, as the culture statement says, pushing the boundaries. So that's always encouraged. So that's the part about the culture at AMD I absolutely love and adore, the collaborative spirit and the learning spirit.
And AMD does have a pretty broad portfolio. It's a quite large company with a lot of technologies. Tell us a little bit more about which areas are you focused on?
I'm in the servers business unit, which means that we look at the server system architecture. And when we say system architecture, it's really the end-to-end part of it, right? From customer requirements, working with the IP associate, working with the firmware teams, working with the software enablement, and external partners to bring that end solution to the customer. So the technologies that I've been focusing on in AMD is CXL Compute Express Link, which is the interconnect technology for coherent interconnect for peripheral devices like memory or accelerators, and also memory technology in general, which includes DDR, memories of different kinds, and of course memory technology has been evolving pretty fast. So in the technology domains, when we work with as a system architect, it's the system view is extremely crucial. Like while it can a certain IP or a certain feature may be important for one aspect, or let me take an example by CXL. CXL is really the technology focus for CXL is solving the problems of data centers today. Like, how do we add more memory? How do we make it most effective in terms of cost and so on? So when we look at CXL, it is not enough to say that the CPU supports CXL functionality. What it really boils down to is how do you bring a system with actual reasonable configuration of the CXL? What is the value proposition for the customer that the customer can enable? And that is what is important to highlight. And a lot of times it is education as well, evangelism, education, advocacy, all of them, because it's a new technology.
And I'm curious, I am more on the marketing side of the world and, kind of a consumer of once engineers build these new technologies, how do we want to put them to work in customer workflows? How do you, in such a rapidly changing and evolving space like the memory market, stay up to date, know where to invent next? You're kind of on the forefront of invention. I'd be curious, how do you know what to go build next?
A lot of it comes from two or three aspects. One aspect is what are the customer's pain point for today, and projecting what are going to be the pain points 5 years later, because it's sometimes not as obvious to outsiders that something that we're bringing to market today has been in works for quite a few years ahead of time, which means that we started thinking about it probably 3 or 5 years ago. There is a part of extrapolating from today's problems to what is going to transpire into the next 5 years, which is becoming increasingly challenging with AI, changing it exponentially every time we just turn around. But that's the part of the job. So what are the problems that we are going to solve, what we are solving for, what are the boundaries that we're going to push? Because of course you can't start with the same architecture and just redo it, and it will not magically solve. So a lot of times it is rethinking what you can and cannot do. You can ask the same question again every year and the answer may change if you're saying what you can or cannot do. And so asking those questions are important. And how do we stay at the forefront is because we are not just looking at how the standards or technologies are being defined, we are helping define them. So it comes back to how do we think the right answers are going to be in 5 years. And of course, in all this time, a lot of it comes, it's a feedback loop. We listen to customers, we formulate the solutions, we work on that path, we listen to the customer, we take it to the customer, we listen to them, and it's a feedback loop. So it's not just one directional. So it's that constant evolution and constant rethinking of the problem statement also sometimes, but also the solution that, hey, is this the best thing we can do? Can we do better? And how do we approach the same problem? Probably the problem could be same, that how do you get more memory bandwidth, but we can approach it in multiple ways, and every time you approach it differently, there may be a different solution. And that's where the innovation and next disruption is all about, that how do you solve the probably the same problem but differently.
Makes sense. And I know for the FMS conference and a lot of the listeners that will be on this particular show, given that the leadership award, maybe we can just talk a little bit more about CXL specifically, how you're seeing it adopted today, anything you might be able to share that may be coming down the pipes that is in the works right now.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, CXL as a technology, the way it has evolved is to the memory. We just talked about memory and how the system memory needs have been evolving over time. So CXL is looking to address some of those things, but addressing the memory tiering. Most importantly, the total cost of operations from the system perspective, from the customer perspective. So how do we do memory tiering more efficiently, memory disaggregation? So these are the use cases that have been coming in CXL, largely on the memory, centered on the memory. Now, as the CXL specification evolves, we have had 3.2 published last year. And how this, as the specification evolves and the ecosystem matures, what we have seen is now there are multiple CXL memory devices which are getting close to the production. The deployments, the first few volume deployments are on the horizon. It's extremely exciting to see that the work we have been doing since 2019 to start seeing them in the real system, in the real customers' hands. So these are coming up pretty soon, and that's an exciting time. Having said that, the development hasn't stopped. We are working on the next generation of CXL specification. We are working on the next generation of CXL memory controller specification for JEDEC as well, to make sure that the ecosystem is robust. What is most important is we start. This is the foundation for CXL ecosystem. How much we can how we build on top of it in terms of use cases, making more disaggregated resources, as you were talking about earlier in the podcast introduction. How do you disaggregate the data and resources? Those are the next steps, and those are the next years. And I'm looking forward to actually taking that up in the ecosystem.
Awesome. Perhaps we can have you come back on the show in 6 or 12 months and talk more about technology, because you have a lot of experience in the area that our listeners are very interested. As we wrap things up, I'm curious, do you expect, I know you said you're a mother and you have 2 little girls, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe not so little anymore. Where do you think their paths will take them? Are they going to follow your path into engineering, or where do you think they'll go?
Yep, and it's too early to say for the younger one. The elder one is definitely getting into engineering. She is recently getting into the college, and she is choosing engineering as her path. So I look forward to having another woman in engineering and carving her own path and direction. I don't necessarily say that she will follow me, but she will carve her own path, and hopefully that takes her to a destination that she looks forward to.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, she certainly has a good role model as her mother. So I look forward to catching up with you and meeting you in person at some point. But again, congratulations on all the accomplishments you've had that led up to this leadership award, and also for the leadership award at FMS this year. It's been great to meet you, Rita.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for getting this opportunity to talk to the audience, and great to again, thank you for the FMS Award nomination. Look forward to seeing you there, and otherwise too.
Thanks for listening to Data Unchained, powered by Hammerspace. To learn more, visit hammerspace.com. If you have a guest you would like to hear on the show, email me at molly@hammerspace.com.